let's look at Safaricom under pressure in yesterday's trading session, down about 2.6%, but we have seen the stock rally about 11.3% of the past 2 weeks. So your thoughts on Safaricom and whether you are one to be buying at this stage?
Yes, I think fundamentally the company is doing very well, and we expect very strong earnings for the first half, and generally, over the next 12 months, we expect a generally robust performance. Obviously, there are a number of uncertainties, especially with regards to the setting of the mobile termination rate. That still remains out and about. We've not really had a firm rate set. And then today we also have the announcement of a Vietnamese company, telco, looking to set up in Kenya. So, but I think in the short term, Safaricom is very well grounded.
Looking at Safaricom now, we have had a number of banks reporting results. Yesterday we had Diamond Trust Bank posting a 39% increase in pre-tax profit due to interest income, much in line with what we have been seeing from the likes of Kenya Commercial Bank as well as Equity Bank.
Yes, Diamond Trust Bank is probably now the fastest growing in the Kenyan market, and we saw interest income almost double, and although also interest expenses actually tripled, and so that was really the only contra. But the overall performance on the earnings were quite good. The loan book increased quite well, whereas if you look at the other banks, at least over the last 6 months, most of their books have been relatively stable. For Diamond Trust, we saw a 13% increase. So overall, we were pretty impressed with the earnings.
So it's all about the second half at this stage. You're looking at the banks. We do have interest rates expected to fall even further. When you look at Diamond Trust Bank, these kind of results, can they be repeated in the second half?
Yes, actually they're in line with our estimates, and we think at the current rate they're actually going to actually meet the estimate targets. And in fact, on the loan book, they've actually exceeded our full year estimate, so it means a very fast growing bank. They're actually doing a rights issue, and if you look at that, it explains, if you look at the growth that they're having, it explains the rights issue as well as the conservative dividend policy that they have, because they only pay about 10 to 15% of the profits that they make.
Let's look at a newcomer on the bourse, CIC Insurance. That stock was up about 10% in yesterday's trading session. Your thoughts on the kind of trade we could see coming through from CIC Insurance, and whether you are buying into the stock at this stage?
Well, initially when it listed, we saw quite a bit of aggressive profit taking. So the first day it went up almost 50%, and it came off by almost for almost 1 week. And then towards the close of last week, we've been seeing buying interest again. The insurance companies, we think this year are going to perform pretty well. CIC, on the contrary, probably listed at an expensive valuation if you compare to with the other insurance companies. So we like the story behind the company, but we just think the valuation is a little bit high at this point. But for the insurance sector as a whole, we like it.
Let's move on to the liquor sector now. Now the battle rages on between Kenya wine agencies and Distel. We know that Distel wants to start going on its own now, but the revenue that comes from Distel for KWAL is about 60%. So if that separation does come through, it's likely to put KWAL in a very difficult position going forward.
Yes, and KWAL was actually planned for privatization, and Distel was one of the co-investors targeted in that privatization in order to maintain distribution agreement that they currently run. But I think there's been a very persistent delay, and that's why Distel appears to be opting for other options. And one thing to note is that Distel is actually 29% owned by Submiller, and Submiller actually is starting to look at the Kenyan market after the separation between East African breweries and Submiller, in Kenya breweries. So there's a lot of pressure now if you're looking at the spirits and wines, because that's a segment which is growing pretty fast in the Kenyan market.
So what are the implications for East African breweries? You did touch on it a little bit there. So if Distel now wants to come into the Kenyan market quite aggressively, what are the likely impacts for East African breweries going forward?
It just points that this segment that is so important to East African breweries, and Diageo is, the parent for East African breweries, one of the largest spirits group globally, and it just points that the attraction of this segment is very good, and very key competitors are looking at setting up in Kenya and expanding capacity. And so East African breweries would have to position themselves, to even more strongly to ward off competition. They've already done a very good job at that, but I think we are seeing a lot of pressure in the horizon.
Let's go back to the stock markets now. We did see the NSE falling back in yesterday's trading session as well as Friday's trading session. What kind of trading moves could we perhaps see coming out of the market today, and which stocks do you have on your radar at this stage?
We've been seeing a bit of pullback. I think given the strong run we've had, I think a bit of profit taking was probably warranted. But I think fundamentally, if you look at the earnings that are coming through, they are very supportive of valuations. And we think the market still has got some way to go before we close the year. But I think we'll keep on seeing these bouts of profit taking as we head higher. On a macro space as well, we think things are looking good. Today the inflation numbers are going to be out, and we think still be maintaining below in the single-digit level. And so overall we remain confident about the market, but the volatility will remain.